In the beginning, and I'm not used to speaking English much, so I hope you will understand me, and yeah, it will be understandable. So this is a story about woman's strength and about the fact that hitting the button can be the beginning of something very beautiful, of a life that can be more beautiful than we could ever imagine. It sounds like a cliche, but for me it's really true. So in 2016, I burned out. I was working in an NGO in Prague, and I did my dream job. I was working as a humanitarian worker, project manager, and manager. It was something I studied for, and it was really a dream which came true. It was something I really wanted to do, like to do humanitarian projects, to travel abroad, to go in refugee camps, to do a job which makes sense to me. But there were many buts. In reality, in an NGO world, you often do more full-time jobs in one full-time job. I don't know if you ever have this experience, or maybe in other fields also. But in my NGO world, it was like this. So in reality, my one full-time job was actually like 2.5, I think, full-time jobs. So first of all, it was this reason. Then the second reason was that I love my job in a very unhealthy way. I had no boundaries, so my job was actually everywhere. It was in my evenings, in my weekends. I had my ex-boyfriend at the time, but actually the job, I don't know how would I prioritize, but it was actually in a very high position. It was like something like sense of my life or something very, very unhealthy at that time. So it was another reason why I burned out. Then I had a really unhealthy belief that I was not good enough. It came from my childhood because I had a father which was emotionally unavailable. So he was physically at home, but actually he was not there emotionally or mentally. So I didn't know about it, but I always tried to prove that I'm good enough to him. Good enough to be loved, good enough to be seen, good enough for him to be proud of myself. And I took this belief to my job. So I tried to prove to my boss that I was good enough, even if I was a woman. It was not really a position made for, how to say, sensitive woman, let's say, and definitely not for a woman of 28 years, which I was when I started to do this job, because I was really inexperienced. So at that time, I did this job with all my heart, and it was my dream that came true, as I said, but I was not prepared for it, like mentally, emotionally, and I didn't have enough experience for that at that time. So that was another reason. Then, and now I have to see my paper, sorry, I forgot. Okay, yeah, okay, good girl, yeah. Okay, it's actually written down, thank you. Okay, so I was actually raised as a good girl. I don't know if you know this expression, but I'm 40 right now, and in my generation, most of my friends, girls, were raised in that way in Czech Republic. So, like good girls, they are often not connected to themselves. They don't, how to say, listen to their own needs. They are always like oriented outwards, out to others. Thank you. Not like inside. So it was my reality. So I was not connected to my own needs, and at work, I actually put the needs of my team above of my own needs. So it was one of the reasons why I burned out also, because this is a really unhealthy program and it wouldn't work for a long time. Another reason why I burned out was also because I couldn't switch my mind off. So even when it was in the evening and I was taking a shower, I was thinking about my job. So actually, I couldn't make a disconnection of the job, because I was responsible for the team and also for the financial part, and my colleagues were my friends at the time. So I remember that we were writing some projects to the ministry, and actually if the project couldn't be granted, let's say, we would not be able to pay the salaries of my colleagues, actually. So I remember that moment in the evening, in the shower, that I was thinking about, okay, and if we have to fire somebody, who will be, no, we can't, we have to find a way. So my mind was doing like this, and I couldn't disconnect. So it was very, very unhealthy. Then the other reason was that I didn't know how to prioritize. I thought that everything was urgent and that everything was priority, and I couldn't do a hierarchy, I don't know, you understand me, right? Yeah, I couldn't know how to do the priorities, so actually it was not possible to do this job in a long term, because there were too many things, and if you don't know how to prioritize, then it's really almost impossible to stay healthy, I think, in this kind of position, because it was a combined position. So actually, slowly, it meant towards the burnout. And I remember that at that time, just before it started to be worse, I went on vacation with my boyfriend, ex-boyfriend at the time, and I lost my period, which was very hard for me as a woman. And that time, I thought I was pregnant, but later I found out that was because of the stress. So actually, I lost the period for many months after. So the health problems started, it was one of them. Then I had intestine problems, stomach problems, migraines, neck problems. So for example, I remember that I woke up at night and the whole room was like spinning, doing like this because of the neck. And I had teeth problems also, like teeth inflammation. So I spent one of the New Year's Eves at the emergency because of the teeth. And in Czech we say, you have it up to your teeth, right? Yeah, so it was exactly that. And when we came back from the vacation with my ex-boyfriend, 1 minute? Oh, sorry. Because I was thinking too. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to.
Stress, please.
Yeah, I'm stressed.
So two.
Okay, okay. So it was all of the problems. Okay, let's say the end. So after he broke up with me, because he couldn't manage being with me in this state, I had to leave our apartment because I resigned from the job finally, but I couldn't afford to pay for the apartment because I was on benefits, so I couldn't pay for the rent. So I lost the work, the partner, the home, and I finished sleeping after that because my mind was turning all the time, every evening, and I couldn't fall asleep of that. So I had depression. It came worse. Finally, I got help. So that time, 10 years ago, I took pills to improve my state. And I moved from Prague to Brno. And finally, the healing started. So with nature, with walks, with my family, with friends, gradually, I got in a better state, and finally I started to clean it here. So after 10 years, this is the end. I'm here and I'm really happy, and it sounds like a cliche, but I can say that I'm my own best friend. I'm still on the way, but really I can say it without lying, because I found a way, I wanted to find a way to get to me. And I earn my life doing trainings about the stress and about the burnout syndrome prevention, but in Czech, not in English. Yeah, and I do also coaching sessions, and I love it. Thank you for your attention.